I have some questions about an interview that was conducted recently, earlier this week, in fact, on the 7:30 by Sarah Ferguson, who interviewed Neve O'Connor. And it was just one day after Ms. O'Connor had returned to Australia following her participation in the Global Flotilla, where she was illegally imprisoned by Israel and repeatedly kicked in the head, handcuffed for 19 hours, sexually humiliated, threatened, and there's more there. And this is just one of the accounts of hundreds of people, hundreds of humanitarians who were illegally imprisoned by Israel and abused and tortured. So I do have a few questions about this interview, which I must say, honestly, in my opinion, was very harshly conducted, and during which Neve O'Connor still showed the utmost dignity. I guess my first question is, does the ABC have any guidelines for trauma-informed practice, specifically for when interviewing victims of abuse?
Thank you, Sarah. I might hand that one to Mr. Fang as the expert on our editorial policies. Mm-hmm. I didn't see the interview in question, I'm sorry.
Yes, Senator, we do in regards to treatment of people that we engage with, and also with interviewing, and also in fairly dealing with members of the public, and our harm and offence standards as well go to speak to some of the ways that we should engage with people around trauma.
So do ABC journalists undergo training in trauma-informed practice in relation to interviewing?
ABC journalists undergo training in relation to their editorial policies, and so those issues would come up as part of that training. There's no specific trauma.
There's no specific trauma-informed
not that I'm
training.
aware of. It might have been conducted within the news department separately as something that they might have focused on, or within that program team, but not that I'm aware of as a broad training program.
Okay. So what steps are journalists required to take to ensure that they are not re-traumatising victims of abuse during interviews?
Well, I think journalists are making judgments about public interest and about what legitimate questions are, and thinking about the way that those questions will land with the people that they're talking to. Clearly, when you ask someone to come on and they agree to appear, they have a story to tell as well, so there's a certain amount of ownership of their own story there. Mm-hmm. So largely it's around balancing getting access to the information that the public needs, while thinking about how you do that in a way that's fair and appropriate with whoever is the person that you're speaking to.
Early in the interview, Ms. O'Connor began to describe the experience of being intercepted by Israeli forces, including where troops threatened to shoot her and those with her. Ms. Ferguson cuts her off and demands details of what she calls actual violence. Do you believe this is an appropriate way to question someone who is recounting a highly traumatic experience of kidnapping and abuse, to demand evidence of actual violence when they are telling you that troops were threatening to shoot her?
Senator, unfortunately, I have not seen the interview either this week, but I would say that in a general sense, when people are making specific and strong allegations about conduct that has happened to them, it is important that we ask them in an appropriate way to be able to lay out enough detail around to allow the public to make up their own minds about the accuracy of those claims.
Could you give me an example of any other interview that ABC has conducted with a victim of abuse, which asked them to corroborate their evidence again and again?
Oh, look, Senator, I couldn't, not off the top of my head. I could go and find some other interviews if you would like.
Do you think it's appropriate to ask a victim of abuse to keep corroborating their evidence over and over and not believing them?
Well, given I haven't seen the interview, I probably shouldn't comment on that. I haven't seen the nature of that interview.
You're here at estimates.
In a general sense, I think it is appropriate to ask people about what has occurred to them if they've come on to speak about that, to understand exactly the information that they're putting forward, but also, as I've said, to do that in a way that is respectful to them and that considers the impact on them as well.
So Ms. Ferguson went on to interrogate Ms. O'Connor about what medical treatment she had sought. And I quote, "Whether you were treated for injuries, what those injuries were, and whether there are other people who can talk about what was done to you." I mean, these questions are pretty horrific, honestly. for someone who has gone through such an ordeal? I'm telling you that this is what happened. Do you think, you said in an appropriate way, do you think this is an appropriate way?
Again, Senator, I shouldn't comment without seeing the whole context of the interview. I don't think that would be helpful.
During the course of this short interview, Ms. O'Connor was asked on 4 separate occasions to provide evidence of the injuries she suffered while being imprisoned, illegally imprisoned by Israel. After Ms. O'Connor confirmed that there were medical records of her treatment and that she did not have them physically with her yet, Ms. Ferguson goes on to say, so in your case, you're talking about multiple kicks to the head and to the person as well as restraints used against you, and you are saying the details that were taken from you in Turkey, the treatment will stand that up. Like, is this usual practice for ABC to not believe women who have been abused?
Look, again, Senator, I haven't seen the interview. I need to see it for the full context.
That's not acceptable, Mr. Fang. That really isn't acceptable. There has been a lot of media coverage of how Ms. O'Connor was treated in this interview. And again, you raised the question of corroboration. Is it not the job of the producer to corroborate a story prior to the interview, rather than having someone who's just been through a horrific experience to be relentlessly questioned again and again about corroborating what happened to them on national television?
Well, I'm sorry, Senator, sorry to be frustrating, but I haven't seen the interview, so I can't comment specifically. I would say, though, that when a person agrees to come on and have a conversation and discuss issues that have happened to them on a national program like that, of such magnitude, it is important to allow the audience to understand the full facts of what has occurred.
So it is important. This is another thing that happened there. When Ms. O'Connor recounted about being forced to remove clothing while men stared at her, Ms. Ferguson responded, and did you discuss that with any of your colleagues at the time? Did it happen to other people? Have you any idea whether your story is a similar one being told by your colleagues? Like, do you think that's the sort of way that you conduct interviews, questioning again and again of someone who has been sexually humiliated and who has been kicked in the head so many times? Do you think that's appropriate?
Well, again, Senator, I'm sorry, I haven't seen the interview, but what that sounds to me like is that the interviewer is attempting to see how many other people have gone through a similar experience.
So you don't think there's, from what I've told you, there is anything inappropriate in the way this interview was conducted?
No, I don't think that I'm able to make a helpful comment, given I haven't watched the full interview, and it's important to see interviews and stories, etc., in their full context before making a commentary about it.
Well, I can tell you that the entire interview gives off the impression that Ms. O'Connor and those that she was imprisoned and abused alongside are not to be believed. That is what the entire interview says. There's clearly skepticism and a demand for evidence that is, quite frankly, something I have never seen in any other interview, of an Australian citizen who has been imprisoned and abused. I have not seen that happen on ABC ever before. If you have seen that, please let me know. So I would encourage you to actually see that interview and change the way that your journalists treat people who have been abused, mistreated by Israeli forces.
Well, I'll watch the interview and I'll take that on board.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Faruqi.